9:30 DCFM 88.9.
For the latest news on what's hot and what's not in the world of technology with Matthew.
Morning, Matt. How are you?
Yeah, good. I love to hear that every week. I missed it last week. I couldn't hear it when I was on the road last week, unfortunately, but it sounds great still.
All right, we spoke about all that on Monday, but again, I notice you're sitting down comfortably, so things have settled down.
Yeah, my bottom's a little bit better today. Yeah. It's getting better each day. So, yes, I can sit down without grimacing now, which is a good thing.
Well, yes, it is. But again, congratulations on the money raised and going to a very, very good cause across the road, which is the Macquarie Homestay. Now, I mentioned this in our preview today, and concrete blocks, are they the next battery? This is fascinating. Tell me why.
And when I read that headline about concrete blocks, I was trying to imagine that they might be using some chemical reaction in concrete or doing something wonderful there. But no, it's all about storing potential energy. And at the moment in Australia, we've got about 4% of the power that we use is using what's called pumped hydro. So when there's too much power during the middle of the day, they might be producing power with solar or with wind, for example. They'll pump water back up into a dam, and then when they need that power later on in the day or overnight, for example, they can allow that water to fall down and spin turbines. So that's great, but it's pretty hard to go and find a dam somewhere or build a dam to be able to do that. And so they've come up with this brilliant idea, and they've only got it in prototype stage at this stage, but they basically build a very tall tower of concrete blocks. And then when there is excess energy, they have a crane that lifts those blocks up and effectively taking that and turning it into potential energy. And then when they need that energy later on in the night, when there isn't the solar production, for example, then they allow those blocks to drop, not drop straight to the ground, drop on a crane that then spins a turbine that produces power. So this is the sort of thing you could produce anywhere, literally anywhere. And obviously, the more blocks you have and the greater height the actual tower is, the more energy you can store. But the greatest thing about this is it's not like a battery that will slowly lose its power over time. If you wanted to store power there and have it sitting there for any length of time waiting for some potential problem where the network might not have enough power, you could have that power sitting there in storage effectively by being at a greater height for days, weeks, months, years even if you wanted to, and then drop those blocks connected to the crane, connected to the turbines at any point in the future. So I actually thought it was a brilliant way to store power.
Except how do we get the, what operates the crane? Potential energy there?
No, that's what's operating the crane is the power, the excess power you're producing during the day. So effectively, and you lose about 10%. So they've got the efficiency level up close to 90%. So by the time they have it ready to go, if you produced 1 kilowatt of power, for example, by the time you've got that block lifted and then dropped again, you'll get 0.9 of a kilowatt into the system. So you're only losing about 10%, but you're able to store that power there for really as long as you want.
It's very efficient.
What's really good about this, Richard, is that and I've said it before, there are lots of people out there who see the problem we have with our power going forward, and they're working on solutions. And that's the great part. You'll see a solution. This is a different solution. We've never heard about this idea before, but there'll be continual different ideas that come forward, and eventually the cream will come to the surface, and the best ideas will be the ones that win. But this, I just thought was an absolutely brilliant idea.
Well, that's why I promoted it at the start of the show today, because I just think it is absolutely brilliant. And when you look at it and you think about it, it's going to work.
Yeah.
But again, it depends on how many concrete blocks you want to drop throughout the night.
That's right, and the other part is that you can distribute this storage of power. So you can go and build one of these units, and they'll have different size units that can effectively store power in different amounts, and you can distribute those rather than have one large battery storage unit like they might have with batteries. You can go and install these really in a whole range of different places.
All right, I'm really pleased about this one too that you brought to my attention. Police are using hackers to find missing persons.
Yeah, everyone thinks they hear the term hacker and it's very negative, and often it is. But the police came up with the idea that there's some people out there that have got some skills, and they're using those skills maybe in a negative way, but they could use them in a positive way. So there's about 3,600 missing people in Australia right now. And so they had a hackathon. So this is only last week, and they had 10 locations across Australia, and they said, we want people to come along and try and find some digital fingerprints for these missing people. So when someone goes missing, either because they want to go missing or because something has happened to them, there might be some what you would call digital fingerprints left somewhere. It might be they've used a card, they've used made a transaction somewhere. There might be a Photoshop somewhere on some camera in a train station or an airport or somewhere. And so they had all these hackers come together, 350 of them came together, and they started searching for these missing people just for any little signatures. Now, what they found is for every 10 minutes, they were getting about 100 potential leads. Now, they've solved no cases from them yet. And again, this is only last week that it happened, so they've solved no cases yet, but they were getting some potential leads. And I just thought, what a great way to do it. And of course, as so often happens in Australia, it wasn't our idea. It's happened in overseas countries before, and we've copied the idea. But it is a great way to use some of the skills people have for good and try and solve issues rather than create issues, but also to really show off those skills.
All right, but the question remains, did they find anybody?
No, look, at the moment, it's too early yet.
Yeah, probably, too
but look, I think it's something that we'll see in a few months' time where once they've got those leads and follow up on those leads, and those digital fingerprints they found may have been something that happened a week or 2 weeks or a month or 2 months ago, but at least it gives the police somewhere to start investigating or re-investigating.
Well, you're getting a few leads. That's not a bad idea. Finally, the US gets its first electric-only gas station.
It seems contradictory.
Hang on. How does that work?
Well, this is a gentleman who owns a gas station, a traditional gas station, and he's looked at the future and he said, I think the future is not in having gas stations. I'm not going to make money in gas stations going forward. He said, I'm going to start to work out a way to make money out of my piece of real estate for electric, not gas. So he started off installing a couple of electric charging points and kept that side by side with his gas. But he's now going to the point where he's going all electric. So it's a service station in the old traditional sense, except you don't put petrol into your car, you put electricity into your car. Yeah. And then he's got a cafe and a convenience type store associated with that, and that's really where he'll make his money. So people will come in, they'll plug in for 10, 15 minutes, they'll go in, they'll buy a coffee, they might buy some chocolates, whatever it might be, and effectively that's the model that he's building up there. Now, he's taking a bit of a risk because where he's built this is on the the Maryland, Washington area, and that area is only the 12th best area in the US for electric cars. California, by far and away, is the best area for electric cars, but he still thinks the writing is on the wall for gas-powered vehicles, as they call them in America. Yeah. He still thinks the writing is on the wall, and so he sees this as the way of the future. And a lot of people talk about electric cars, oh no, how painful, you've got to find somewhere to charge them up. Now, you go back 100 years ago, you took your own jerry cans with you when you went out with your car because you needed to carry the petrol with you. And again, I can see more and more of these petrol stations, first of all, going to what I'd call a hybrid model, where they'll have petrol and they'll have electricity, but then going to the point where you won't be able to find a petrol station because they'll all be converted over to electric charging stations.
Indeed. Well, it's the way of the future, but I think he's going to starve for a while.
He might do it a bit tough a little while.
I reckon he will.
He may be a little bit ahead of his time, but I can see where he's coming from, that he wants to be the first one out there and he wants to actually really promote that. And when people start looking for an area to charge, they'll go straight to there.
Well, I hope he's got a very successful cafe because I think that's already going to make his money for the time being. Always good talking with you, mate.
Thanks, Richard.
Okay, we'll catch up with you next week. Mathew Dickerson with Tech Talk here on DCFM 88.9. And right now, I think we better tell you all about this at 22 minutes to 10.